Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for coming along to our screening and Q&A event. I think I speak for everybody in the room, Ted, when I say I really enjoyed that film. Everyone enjoy?
Yes.
Excellent, good. Right, so we have a unique opportunity here then to speak with the cast and crew of this particular film. I'm wondering if it might be okay if we went along the line and said who we each were, if that's okay, just so people know if that's okay. Thank you.
So I was Miss Granger, the next door neighbour, who was possibly driving the car and is possibly blind.
I'm Barry Smith, and I was playing Mr. Henderson, depending on whether I got the name right.
That was the behind the scenes.
Yeah. What was the actual name again?
Hawthorne.
Mr. Hawthorne. I think we came up with so many different names on that day. Even while we were actually doing the scene as we were introducing ourselves, instead of saying we are the Hawthorns, we are the Hendersons. Just giving these guys something to dine out.
Oh, that blooper reel, I suppose, yeah.
Anyway, that was me.
Yeah, I'm Ted, I'm the director. I feel like half the people in the room probably know me already, but there you go. Yeah.
I'm Harris, I was the postman. Yeah.
I'm Lucas, I'm bird watcher, I'm quit alright.
Thank you very much, guys. Rightio then, okay. So I wanted to start off then by asking about how you would describe All Eyes on You as a film. You know, sort of thinking generic terms, whatever, you know. What are your thoughts on this? And that's open to anybody who wants to offer an answer to this. I don't know if maybe you want to lead, Ted, or if anyone wants to add anything.
Yeah, I'll have a go first. It's probably my fault that we're asking these questions. I think I wanted to make a horror film, but I think it kind of became like a weird relationship drama that's kind of in disguise as a horror film. There's there's horror-y bits here and there, but it quickly becomes not really about that and more about the couple and what's going on with them.
Interesting sort of psychodrama elements.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a drama than a horror, I would say. Yeah.
Anyone want to add anything?
Yeah, I was just thinking that kind of ended up working for me because I don't really like horror films. I get a bit scared. So, I mean, in terms of how I would describe it, I think until Ted just so eloquently put it there, I was probably going to say it was just a bit creepy.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. The relationship is really important in it, and you're left with lots of questions, aren't you? Which actually is, for me, it's a really great sign of a short. You know. Creepy.
Yeah, I think in a short, it's quite a long short, but if you're trying to pack all the answers into 20 minutes, you're not gonna do it. So leave some up to the imagination, maybe. Yeah.
Are we horror fans generally on this panel? So this is a sort of I'm not sure.
Well, I would describe it as a psychological thriller.
Right.
To me, horror films are sort of back in the 70s, the Hammer horror type of thing that I used to enjoy through my teens.
Okay.
Not so much in recent years, but it's just you feel the tension through it, even sitting there, and I've seen it previously, that you feel the tension building. I think some of that is to do with the lighting and the silences and the music, I think.
Absolutely. That it's the music that won an award, is that right?
Well, we've won a couple of awards now, actually.
Right. Do you want to brag about those?
No, I don't. No, our composer Thomas, he's won Best Score at some festival in Florida, which is pretty awesome. So they're showing it in America next week sometime.
Lovely.
And then we also won Best European Film at an Italian festival called Absurd Film Festival, I think. So
Great.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, take that.
Well done, that's great.
Yeah.
So just sort of extend that question outwards then. So Lucas and Harris, are you horror fans? Do you like a bit of horror?
Yeah, I love horror films. I think the best thing to do is go to the cinema and watch a horror film with your friends. I just think it's like really funny. I scream a lot. I don't know, but yeah, I mean that Conjuring film came out a few weeks ago, if anyone saw that in cinemas. I've always been a big horror guy, even when I was young. It was more like the slasher films, because I was like growing up into them, and then there was like the found footage films that got me, and then yeah, I think I prefer the supernatural films because there's more variety, but this is like a mix. Like you don't really know half the time if it's like supernatural, you don't know if it's psychological, and then you have the element of the couple and like the themes of like guilt and why this is happening. So I think it ties in really nicely, and like Ted said, you can't answer all the questions in 20 minutes, but what he did so well was like make us think, okay, why is this happening, you know, after.
Yeah, thank you. Lucas, what about you?
I'm not a big fan of horror movies, but I think too this movie is more like a psychology movie. And I read one review from UK news, and the critic said this movie is similar to Revival David Lynch. So if some film expert says something like this, so this is compliment for us. That we appreciate it.
This is like mental horror rather than physical horror, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, to be compared to David Lynch is a big.
Yeah, I'll take that. Really does it well. Yeah, that's a nice
He is the
insight.
master of the creepy movie.
Yeah, well that's the thing, it's creepy and it's not horror. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
David Lynch has made like a horror film, but he has made pretty horrific films. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Disturbing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Ted, can I ask a question? How did you meet all the cast?
Oh
The
well,
crew.
I
I
mean,
mean, I know
all
the crew,
sorts
but-
of places. I think we haven't obviously got the leads with us because they're just very far away where they're based. So first I cast those two. Obviously for any students here that are like looking to make films, I think the easy process for what I did was I went through Facebook groups, basically like acting groups, workshops, and like professional group chats or whatever, and put out a casting call. And from maybe 50 different people that auditioned or submitted their tapes, those were the two that I picked from them. So I didn't know them at all, and yeah, they were from Wales and Liverpool, yeah. And then these two, Lucas and Harris, both on the course with me, so I've known them since my first year. Not, Lucas has had quite a bit of acting experience now, not an actor by trade, but I've made him pitch in. He was the lead in one of my shorts in second year, and yeah, it's basically worked on all of my films with me, and Harris as well, but mainly part of the crew. So this is Harris's first actual acting performance. And I just roped him into it. I just thought, yeah, and then on the other side of the spectrum, Barry's a professional actor who, how did I come across Barry?
I think I wrote to a lecturer here saying, if you've got any final year students that are looking to do movies, and I'm free and I'm relatively local, I'm only up in Nottingham. So, and I think maybe Ethan got in touch first, and I did a short film for you, didn't I? And you were obviously you were kind of, I've got a role as well. Or was it the other way around? No, is that
Oh,
was it the other way around?
Yeah, I think I loaned you out to Ethan to his. We got around to his first.
No,
but
you're
I think
right,
we actually
you're
when
right,
we met on your set, we'd already kind of been in touch through emails. So, and also I worked with River, who did acting workshops with you in my second year. So kind of actors, friends of actors and things. And then again on the other end of the spectrum, Lorraine lives in Market Bosworth, which is the town that we shot the film in. And she's a friend of my grandparents who are sitting there, and we used their house to shoot in very graciously.
No, you need to speak to my young.
And to quote a line from the film, and as you can probably tell, I'm not an actress. I thought I was signing up to be an extra.
Well, yes, Lorraine, I think my grandparents mentioned to all their friends, our grandson's making a film, and Lorraine said, for better or worse for her, I'd love to be a part of it.
I'll be an extra.
Yeah, and there you go. And I think that adds, a bit of authenticity to the kind of cast. You're an actual resident of the creepy town or the village that it is.
Do you own the creepy house?
Like a driver who's blind when you're on his normal.
Can't sleep at night.
Yeah, so the cast is pretty all-encompassing. There's a lot of different people.
But I think one thing I would say is, because I do quite a few student movies like Nottingham, Derby, Lincoln, Leicester. But as soon as you start advertising on groups, you get inundated, don't you? You get quite a lot of, because there's a lot of people out there, So never be scared to kind of start using those. I mean, you might get overwhelmed because there might be a lot of people coming through, but it just means you get a good broad section of people that you might be able to then bring on board.
Yeah.
You might regret doing it because you might get too many, it might take you too long to pick, but it's worth the experience, I think, just to see how many actors are out there that are willing to come and do these sort of films.
can I build on that then and just ask about your experience?
Yeah.
You know, so you obviously you work with Ted. You said
Yeah.
you've worked in a number of these sorts of
Yeah.
scenarios. What do you get out of those experiences?
So a couple of things really. One is, well, in fact, there's 2 or 3 things. So as an actor, you need to be acting as much as possible, because it's good for you to learn your craft, and the only way you learn your craft is actually being on set. So I do a lot of things. I do acting, modelling, I do background work. I'm on some big productions at the moment, you know, big studios across the UK. And the thing I get out of coming and doing these is you get footage, so you can build your own show reel. So every year I like to get a bit more footage, and if it's good, I can then use it in my show reel. So obviously my show reel being my CV. And so, yeah, it's just really important that you kind of, 1, to keep things going, 2, to get showreel material. And one thing I would say is there are varying quality of teams and crew that you work with, and actually these guys were fantastic. And you know, you see the final product there, and it's incredible. It's really well made, great sound, great colour grading, and obviously very thought through cast as well. And I just think it works. And you know, sometimes you'll turn up on set. I remember going to Warwick, and the guy was like, oh, so what are your plans? What are you looking to do once you've finished? He goes, oh, I'm just going to get a job, you know, nothing to do with acting. I'm thinking, I've just given all my, you know, driven all the way to Warwick. I really want to make a good thing of this, and the guy couldn't be asked, you know what I mean? So it's really good that we have people like, you know, these guys here, because they're obviously going to be the future of our industry as well. So that, I guess that's the final thing, you know, when these guys are off making big things, they won't forget me.
I love it. I guess I'll extend that out then actually as well. So our other 3 performers here on the cast, what did you get out of this experience? Can I start with you? Is that all right?
Yeah, I think I heard someone on the radio not long ago saying never turn anything down.
Right.
And I think that, you know, as you get older, you probably think that your horizons are shrinking, and actually it was an opportunity to do something I've never done before. I learnt a lot. It was great working with young people, because I was previously working in a school, so I've sort of moved away from that. So working with Ted was really patient and kind, I have to say, for me, as I've never done anything like this before. And it was just so interesting to see through the actual couple of day, evening and day that I was there, the production, to see how a film is made. So from being, you know, enjoying the entertainment industry from the other side of the screen, to being and the sort of the process of it, you know, you don't just do a scene, you do it from here, you do it from there, you do it from there, you do it from there, that you don't see as a viewer. So that was really interesting, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Any other observations about what you got out of the situation?
Yeah, no, first off, because obviously I've known these guys for a while, actually making films with them is really fun. So getting to act, it's like, it's always been on my mind, like, I'll try it. And then I was thinking, like, because he spoke to me about this project, I think it was late last year, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, this could be, you know, something, you know. And he was like, oh, would you want to try? I said, yeah, go on. Because you always see like people, and they always talk about, oh, I wish I'd done this when I was younger, or I wish I'd done this when I had time. And anyone can do it at any time. And I thought I'm at the best possible like position right now to do it, and I'll give it a go. And it was fun, and we had fun, and I'm hoping it was like okay, but I enjoyed doing it. You know, it was a good experience. It was a good memory, and like making films with these guys was really fun as well. So you get experience, you get that memory, and like, you know, you've done that with your friends at this time. You can always look back at it, you know, and hopefully, because you know everyone here will be like very successful, you can look back at it in the future, be like, oh, I'm so glad I've done this, you know, like with the people you're really close with.
I knew him when he was but a humble student filmmaker. Now he's winning Oscars.
You'll be winning the Oscars as well. This is the start of the new, yeah. I mean, I must say, I had not really, you know, I had no expectations for the role of postman. I didn't. I just thought it'll be good fun. I want to work with my mate. I'll get him on, and he's amazing. He's great. Like
And there are plans for a new mini-series.
Well, exactly. You know, the sitcom in the village. But I think, yeah, I love that character, and it's, to be honest, I've watched the film like 100 times because you know I edited it as well, so I'm pretty sick of most of it. just out of how much watch, but every time I see Harris, it's amazing. Like, it's brilliant. So yeah, thanks, mate.
Lucas, were you wanting to add anything there?
Yeah, for me the most important is see young people with passion who get progress. You know, because we start with that. Yeah, the first movie Stop. I remember some Leicester Street, cold, raining November. You think, yeah, we have to do this. Later another movie Run, and now that one. And I think this is you made really good, big progress. Yeah, and I'm really glad. So I think this movie. Yeah, how many movies we made?
Five.
Something like 5.
Yeah,
around this 5,
yeah.
around 5. Yeah, and I think this work is for now is the best one. I didn't say that because I am there. No, I really think you know you make a really big progress and just keep working.
That's the point.
So, well, let's send this out to you then, Ted. We've asked what people have got out of this project. This, as Lukasz is saying, this is the 5th film you've made now, and there's been a bit of a gestation period on this. Sort of, I wonder if maybe you could talk a little bit about how long this has taken to get this to this stage, and what you've got out of this project as well. What has this film given you beyond the other 4 films that you've made?
Okay. I mean, it took a pretty long time. Definitely took longer than anything else I made because I mean it's the longest by far, the big plot and a big cast. But I was also in the middle of I hadn't started my 3rd and final year of The Bachelors when I kind of came up with a bare bones of an idea, and I started to write a script, and it was a very packed, busy year of lots of hectic modules and stressful, and so it was quite difficult to focus on the film, because the film is independent of those modules. So that was probably the main reason it took so long, because I'd be going to my lectures all day, and then in the evening I'd be sending an email to an actor or something. But in terms of like how each film, I think every film should. I think it's a good sign incrementally if every film you make gives you something bigger than the previous one. But like, whether or not there's any physical evidence, there's always the kind of, hopefully, the progress of each film being a better product. Like, we all know what we're doing with the equipment more. I kind of know what I'm doing with the writing more. And the organisation, you kind of become more aware of what it takes to produce it and how long it's going to take to edit, and all these skills you pick up. But in terms of the actual rewards, it has been quite successful so far. We've won a couple of awards, which is amazing. I've never won an award for anything, I feel like, in my life, so that's really nice. But it's just great fun, really. Like, I think whether or not I become a successful whatever, I just want to make films, because that's, like, I enjoy art and I like to kind of express things, but I'm not good at drawing, I'm not good at painting, I'm not good, but I can kind of direct other people to this tune, and we can all together create this thing that I think, people will enjoy. That's amazing. So if I can do that forever, then I will, I think.
Oh, that's
We're in the right place, aren't we?
Yeah, well, and then I'm doing
Not
so
gonna
I'm doing
go
a
and be
master's.
just now, are
No. So I'm doing a
we?
master's.
Lost then. There's a little creep.
Yeah. So I'm doing a master's, and I just intend to make as many more films as I can in that time, and we'll see where it goes. Now I want to make a feature, basically. That's the end goal. So yeah.
Was there a point in the process where, I'm just thinking about sort of big projects that I've managed before, there's often a point where things will maybe go just a little bit squiffy, a little bit wrong, things are, sort of happening. Was there a point where you thought, oh, hang on a minute, this needs managing, I don't know how I'm going to manage this, that sort of thing? I'm guessing that there are a number of people in the audience who have got filmmaking projects coming up, or are involved in filmmaking projects, and things don't always go smoothly. That is the nature of these things. No. Is there anything you can think of, where you had to sort of manage a situation or whatever?
I mean, there's all sorts. That's the main fun thing. Is every single day is not going to turn out exactly how you planned it. You can write something down on a piece of paper and think, this is what we'll do at this time, and then we'll have lunch and we'll do this, and there's always something. But I think the entire kind of prep process of pre-production was probably the most stressful, because at that point you're doing all this work, but you're not actually there in person with these people. So it's quite hard to kind of physically be like, this will happen. This is it's almost like a fantasy. Like you're just doing work without a real like insight into, yes, we are going to do it. And then you get there and it's like a crazy relief. So, oh my god, like we're all here, we're making a film. And then most of that part of the process is just really fun. There's always something or other. The most funny kind of issue we had, because I can't think of a lot, but on the night shoot with all the villagers, my friend whose car was Lorraine's car in the film, he kind of parked it as close to the hedge as possible, under my grandma's strict instructions, because we didn't want to upset the neighbour. And then we had to get this car out, and it was like going back and forth. And so Barry got in the car and was reversing out the driveway, and it was like, as this is happening, all of the extras in that scene, family and friends, just stood on the driveway next door watching this happen. And,
no pressure then.
No, I think somebody tried to move it for ages, and then I just got in.
It was painful, yeah.
I think it took about 15 minutes to move the car out of the parking space.
Yeah. But other than that, everything went very well. It was just like very mentally taxing. I don't know. Like I didn't sleep very well that 4 days.
Not surprised.
Ted does come across as very chill in these situations, so
that's good.
I'm surprised you managed to get anything that, because you did so well. I can't imagine anything would faze you.
No, I mean, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to that.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open this up to the room, if that's okay. Just feel free to pop your hand up if you have a question. We're going to lead with you, Rachel, if that's all right.
In the spirit of what you just said a minute ago, Ted, about creating something all together as a collaboration, I'm just interested in your development process in terms of your creative vision as a director. So obviously you have your presumably script or outline to begin with, and your kind of vision for what this is going to be.
Yeah.
But I feel it's very much the kind of film that it's really about what happens off the page in terms of tone, because it's like that, like you said, that genre hybrid, which I think is what's really interesting about it. So how did that vision change at all or develop when you started working with other people, your kind of heads of department and your rehearsals with your cast? Did you develop that tone as you went along? Did anything change about your vision as you started to collaborate with other people?
I think it's kind of inevitable whether you wrote the script or someone else has, but as soon as you start working on a film, it is a collaborative process. Every person that gets their hands on a role will kind of affect it in their own way. The camera operator will have his little, distinctiveness on the camera, and then a performer might have, everyone has a little something. But I think I basically just started writing a horror film because I wanted to write something where people thought they were being watched, and creepy, paranoid, neighbours. And the relationship stuff kind of came out of nowhere from some sort of subconscious, probably quite weird, other people's lives or my lives or whatever. Just something sunk into. I was like, I need a reason for them to be being. Why are people watching? What's going on? And so it kind of, and then when I got the leads involved, and we started, doing table reads and chemistry tests, and they'd already met before as well, and they'd done a film together where they played a couple in that film. So they kind of took it in a, suddenly that dynamic became very important to the film. They're in every scene really, that couple. And so I can't, they do kind of take it away. The horror stuff drops down quite a lot from maybe what I thought I was going to make. But I'm quite happy about that because, as everyone else is saying, I don't know if I really love horror films. I think some of my favourite films are horror films, but as a kind of genre, there's just so much that's it's very oversaturated, and there's a lot of bad horror films. And so if I can escape that category, that's fine with me. I think,
Great question. Right, I can see a hand at the back, a tentative hand.
Was there ever an idea for it to be fully developed into a whole feature-length movie, or was it just kind of, this is the perfect version at 20 minutes long and meant to be like that, finished like that?
That's a good question, because I think a lot of people will see it, and obviously there's a big climactic ending, and it's like, what happens next? But for me personally, I always had it in my mind that there'd be like a big twist of like, oh, we see, you know, maybe there's like a double twist where you think, okay, there's nothing weird going on, the couple are the ones who are weird, and then there's a second twist where, oh, and the villagers are weird, and it kind of, so I never had...
No.
No, Mr. Montfort, he's completely normal, he's just there
He's just
outside
nice.
the house. So I didn't have anything beyond that. I think like, it could be, with the footage we had, it could have been like 20 more minutes long because there's just so many characters and so many conversations going on. And I could, you know, it's a story that would work in a feature setting, I think. You know, you build the tension for longer, there's more weird interactions, more characters, but I think at this point in my kind of life, I'm not ready to do that. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's the sort of thing I could make into a feature, but I'd probably just want to move on to someone else, get away from the weird villages and stuff.
Can I just say, Ted, it reminded me, you're too young to remember, but Tales of the Unexpected. And there was elements of that that, reminded me of he used to be on the was it Roald Dahl? Tales of the Unexpected? Creepy. Sort of not horror, but sort of really... Uncanny.
Yeah, there's something off.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
No, brilliant.
Do we have any other questions for our cast and crew? Yeah.
I'm very interested in the choice of music. I've noticed it wasn't a typical horror, you know, screechy, high-pitched noises. What made you choose the music that you did? It works really well, by the way, but what made you do it?
To be fair, it kind of surprised me as well. It took me a while to kind of, because the composer I've worked with on a previous film, and I'd only ever met him on video calls and things because he was like a friend of a friend. And so the last score he made me for my previous project, like he sent the first draft and I was like, oh my god, this is like perfect, amazing. It like literally no, like anything, so I just used that. And then this, he sent a draft that was very somber and kind of sensitive, and at first it definitely, I was like, oh, I don't know, there's not a lot of horror to it, but it did really go on me. It just took a while, and I like that. I think because, as we're saying, it's about the couple, not the villagers. The score does definitely lend to that because it's about these kind of fragile characters that are just cracking the whole time. Whereas if it was a film where the real focus was like these ominous, like, figures all over the place, we'd have a bit more, you know, dramatic. Which at the very end, obviously we do, that final scene. But yeah, other than that, you're right that the score is not horror, I suppose. It's quite...
It's very good, it's a nice contrast. It's really good.
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Yeah, well, I'm very happy with the score. I mean, he definitely deserved an award. Thomas, he's very good. And he's only, I think he's 22 or 23. He went to Leeds for uni, and he just likes to do student projects, as we all seem to do. So it's really good. Yeah.
Gentleman here.
Apart from being bitterly disappointed that I didn't get an audition for your project, I'm most impressed with your people management.
Okay.
It's not just a case of poking a camera and a microphone at people. It's keeping everybody, I wouldn't say in line, but everybody's got their own slant on how they think it should be done, and that takes a lot of controlling. And obviously, the bigger the film, the bigger the problem becomes. But yeah, that is a side. It was most impressive. I think also is getting the cast into character, because of the relatively short clips. And it's not like doing amateur dramatics where you just blast through the whole thing, and you quickly get into character. Doing short clips over a limited space of time, it's something that is, you're good if you can bring that off.
Thank you. Yeah, I think people management is like the most important thing a director really has to do, because like, I mean, depending on if you're a writer director or a producer director or whatever, but like half of your job has been done before the film begins, and you've organised everyone to show up and you wrote a script, or so you know what should happen. You just have to be there to make sure it does, and like keep everything under control and organised. So yeah, that's the stressful part.
Yeah, but you
I
had
suppose.
teamwork. It was a
Yeah,
team.
but everyone, that no one's like running around screaming or anything. Everyone really wanted to help and did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So, yeah.
it seems to be coming through really loud and clear from all of the respondents that this was very much a sort of a team thing, and that actually everybody really enjoyed their experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of amazed that everyone. I mean, some people were there for longer, obviously because certain characters were only in certain scenes. But like, Callum and Laura, the leads, stayed in my grandparents' house for the whole 4 days of the shoot with me and the DOP and other members of the crew at different times, and I'm kind of amazed that everyone sat through it and like let themselves be held captive in Market Bosworth for 4 days. But like, they did amazing jobs, and there was no no complaints, no like, oh god, when can I go home? It was like, yeah. So yeah.
Sort of. Is the hospitality a big part of that? Do you need to be sort of thinking about how you are looking after?
That's my grandparents.
The
so I have
chief
to thank
caterer, is
for
that
that.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Didn't get a role, but he was credited.
He was
for
location manager.
Location
Okay,
manager.
okay, lovely.
I could not have done it without them. Yes, definitely.
Stand-up comedian on the day.
Keeping the mood light.
We didn't stand a chance, really.
I'll
Yeah.
say something. It was great fun.
Yeah.
And all these young people around the house.
Including me, yeah.
Oh,
In
no,
my
but
head.
everybody seemed to get on so well, and with that said, I'm in charge, you do as I say. There was none of that. It was just great to see that happening, and it was brilliant. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it again.
Oh, they even brought their own booze as well.
That's what matters.
How you managed to stay awake, I just don't know. I just
Yeah,
don't know.
well, it was bad. It was bad. The adrenaline was very high for the whole thing. There was definitely a moment on the third night of the shoot, which was the big ending scene with all of the villagers outside. So we shot that before the end of the film, but everyone else went home, and then we still keep shooting because we had a scene after that. And I was like totally wiped out because I've been, everyone I know basically in a little crowd. I'm telling everyone what to do. I've not got time to talk to all of them because I'm floating around and like getting, and I just like crashed out basically. And Ollie was like, "We got to keep shooting, like we got this."
You're really buzzing. It was nice to see.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to manage that, isn't it? I would imagine then, sort
Yeah.
of, you don't think necessarily that anxiety, not anxiety, sorry, adrenaline
It's the
would be a
adrenaline,
thing,
yeah.
but that's
It definitely
something.
is. I think you don't have time a lot of times to thinking like, oh, I need to lie down, because you've got such a tight schedule. Like even if it's a 4-day shoot, which is quite long, but we're working on these people's time, like the actors and the
But it's
crew.
I would add to that because like in a professional environment, you're very limited and you have hard cut-offs because think about the amount of money that they spend to hire a studio or to recruit all the or even the extras. They're all everybody is being paid, and so the pressure is on the director and the DOP to make it happen. And I don't think that goes away in this environment as well, because the pressure, instead of it being money, it's I've got to go back to Nottingham, Tammy had to go, so these people, we're all giving our time to make this happen, and not everybody has youth on their side, and so when you're going late into the night, it's good.
Yeah, you don't want to be keeping 30 people outside whilst you get any camera ready. You just got to do it. So it's like,
Good point. Do we have any other questions then? Please do. Yeah.
So what was the most challenging part of the project? Like it's for like production, or like post-production? What like part for you personally was the most challenging?
I'll probably go backwards. I think post-production is the easiest because I kind of just have total control and freedom. Like I'm kind of working to my time. Like if there's no editing done to this, because I haven't done it, you know what I mean? So like there's only one person to be annoyed at that the film isn't getting finished. You just got to get on with it. And I mean, for one of the key bits of editing, I went down to London to my DOP's house, and we just spent like 3 days solid just editing, and that was really useful. But the production wasn't, everything went very smoothly. We got every scene we needed, we got every shot we needed. We were really happy. Shot this, everything ticked off. I think maybe the pre-production was the most challenging, just because I'm doing it with university, and it was like, I've got to do all this, but I've got an essay due in next week, and I was like, or I think when we shot it, it was in like our Easter break, which is very convenient. But like the week after, we were back at uni again, so I think that was the most like kind of like got to figure it out. When are we going to shoot it? Is it going to happen? Like that's a bit of a kind of, it can be a bit heartbreaking if things aren't going right and you're running out of time and you're getting to the end of the year. And there were definitely points like that. There was a point maybe a month out where I'd just been so busy, you know, casting all the side characters and getting everything ready, talking to my grandparents about using their house still and kind of making sure they were still up for that. And one of the leads sent me an email that was like, "What's going on? Is everything good?" And I was like, "Yes, yeah, it's good." And I was just like, was so like, "Oh my god, I can't believe, you know, I've like left them in the lurch a bit." And so you've got to keep everyone in contact and everyone knowing that it's all going ahead and everything's fine, whilst you yourself aren't 100% sure if that's the case, because you've still got to be prepping when you can. So yeah, I think
But normally the director wouldn't have to do all of that, would he?
well, yeah, exactly. We're in the position where like everyone's coming to help on the production, and it's a great load of fun. And obviously, if you ask people to do it in pre-production, they will come and help you. But you don't want to burden everyone else when they've also got their essays in, or they've also got their own projects that they're making, like a lot of my friends did at the time. Because that's the thing, a lot of people want to be a director or a writer, so we're all focusing on our own project, and so you can't expect everyone to completely dedicate themselves like you are to that project.
And I can just continue. What was like the time frame, like, you know, from the production, from the first idea to just the last shot, and then the
It was a long time. I think I was in Cornwall with my mum in like July of 2024, and I just started writing about villagers watching people, neighbours and things, and I didn't really know what I was talking about.
Weird,
Yeah.
Great holiday.
I was in like a weird little cottage, and I was.
You sounded like it was a weird little college.
Yeah, the rest of the family were up in the bedrooms, and I had to sleep on a sofa in the living room sort of thing, and I was looking out the window. So I think maybe that was probably what kickstarted it. But so I started writing in the summer of last year, and then I started casting after a few drafts in probably early winter. I think like November or December is probably when I got the leads. And then, you know, the early months of this year, I spoke to Barry and Tammy, and these guys, you know, I just kind of approached people at uni who I knew that would be on board for certain roles, because I didn't have time to like send a cast client for every single role. And I'm glad I didn't, because I got great people to do that. But yeah, so it was about a year, because we shot it in April, and then I just was editing all summer basically. Yeah.
Would you have had another plan had the weather been different?
I mean, that's a tricky one. I think in some people's heads they might think, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if this scene had rain in it?" That's so atmospheric. It would be the worst possible thing. So
Oh my God.
you've got to constantly be looking at the forecasts and things.
We got lucky, didn't we? That
It was really sunny the whole shoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a tricky one. You might have to slightly, you know, alter your schedule if the next day you're shooting all the indoor scenes, but today it's terrible weather. Maybe you have to swap it around a bit and shoot your indoor
I
stuff
can
today.
just see all the neighbours in the rain looking at the house.
Yeah.
What
I mean,
typical British.
that was another the tricky part really. This is one challenge I haven't really spoken about, but it wasn't that big a deal. Was that final scene with the villagers outside? When I'd written it, I thought maybe I'll shoot it in winter, so it'll be 5 PM and it's dark or something. And then we got to the time to shoot, and we were probably out there about 8 or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, so it was a lot of time. All the extras got there, and then we kind of just had to wait for it to get dark. And that was really good. But there you go.
Maybe just I have one more question, because it was mentioned that the actors got paid, yeah? So how do you manage, you know, to get the budget? Was like your personal money, or like did you raise any money?
Well, I think I'd considered crowdfunding, but in the end, I just didn't really have time to sort out any kind of Kickstarter or GoFundMe because of uni. Because I think you have to put a lot of effort into that to make sure people actually want to give you money. So I didn't do that in the end. It's basically most things are out of my pocket, and then there are some very generous people who, you know, also bought their own food or bought their own buses or whatever. But in terms of the actors, the leads, I paid for their travel. So Callum was from Liverpool and Laura was from Wales, and so trains, petrol, and then, you know, my grandparents hosted them, so we didn't have to pay for accommodation, and we fed them all their meals. But other than that, I didn't pay them like an equity wage, like an industry standard. I don't have the money. That's the thing. It's a very costly. I think filmmaking can be really expensive if you do it by the book. Like that could be, and obviously the equipment was through the university.
Yeah.
So without any of that, I don't know how much that would have cost. Like, if we're doing it all by the book, 20, 30 grand or something, you know. So, and you know, like Barry, the paid for his petrol to come down. He didn't have to pay parking because park out on the road. But
yeah, I mean, I would just add to that, because it's a common dilemma, because some actors just will not work if you don't pay them, and some of them, I gave you the reasons why I do earlier. But one thing I've noticed actually in the last 2 or 3 years is a lot of student productions are actually managing to scrape the money to be able somehow to pay their actors. I think did you mention crowdfunding and that kind of stuff? And what you tend to get is, let's say it's a production team of 12 people, maybe all of their parents might chip in some money, and I don't know how it works, but sometimes that does happen. And increasingly, like Nottingham, some of them do, some of them don't. Derby, some of them do. So, you know, it completely depends. And I think as an actor, you just need to look at the script, look at the people making the thing, think what am I going to get out of it, and sometimes you just want to do it anyway. But yeah, it's not unheard of now. For certainly when, you know, we're looking on job boards, we're looking on whether that's just social media or official job boards that you subscribe to. And certainly a lot of the universities around London will pay, and a lot of them won't. So it really, you know, I think London Film School quite often don't, but then there's other London universities that do. So I don't think there's any kind of consistency, but there does seem to be more and more managing to get the money somehow. I don't know how it will work.
Can I just jump in there, because it's an interesting thing that you raise, and it's good for students to have an awareness that there's actually quite a contentious issue in the industry, and you're right to raise the point that more and more student productions are paying actors. That's partly because some of the professional platforms such as Mandy have actually tightened up their rules, and you actually can't now advertise for productions without offering some kind of fee. Equity have also negotiated a student rate alongside their kind of professional rate. There is now a student rate for paying actors as well. That's something we teach about on the MA, and we bring in casting directors who talk about it as well. But it's something for students to be aware of it. And you're right to say that different people have different motivations for wanting to be part of a project, and you can kind of look at that as well. But one of the things that is useful to think about is kind of just having transparency and parity in what you do have. You might have not much budget, but it's important to kind of do what you can and offer people certainly expenses and make sure they're fed and well looked after. And the welfare aspect goes a long way. So just making sure that people feel looked after, which doesn't, some of it costs a bit of money, but some of it is more just about your attitude and the way that you treat people, and that can go a long way as well to making sure that people feel like they're part of something rather than being exploited for something. Which is important, isn't it? And I know that 10 of the students that we've worked with have a very good understanding of that, which is really nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to add on to that. I don't know if anyone is a fresher in here for film. Is anyone film? Yeah, okay. I mean, my first couple of films, no one was getting paid, and no one was a professional actor. You know, we were just students, and we were getting our mates who were in the class, like, and that's fine. But if, you know, once you get to a certain point where you think, okay, this role, I need a certain person that's not going to be in my class, then you might have to think about approaching a professional actor, for example. But if you put it into perspective of, I mean, I don't know if you guys go out a lot, you know, it's Freshers Week. How much does a night out cost in Leicester? Think about that, and then think about how much it costs to like pay for this actor's petrol to come to a shoot for a day. And then, you know, like, what is worth it more in a long term?
Yeah, I think it really does. I'm sorry to cut across you. I said earlier, the colour grading, the sound, the actors, they can bring a film to life. Obviously, the direction and the cameras and everything else is what you need to make a good film. But there are some things you need to make sure you've got absolutely nailed on. Otherwise, the film just doesn't fly properly. And you can tell the quality of that was just fantastic.
But it depends ultimately like what you're going for. If you want to make your first film, you want experience. You're not been on a set, you've not directed a film, you've not wrote a film. Just make it. That's the main thing you've got to do. And I wouldn't be like, I need to wait till I've got this amount of money, cast this person. just make a film. That's the main priority. But I was at the point where in my final year, I want to make a bit of a statement and go all out on final year, because that's the only film I really made that year. Whereas in previous years, I made 1 or 2. And so in some ways, you want to make as many as possible. But if you pour everything into it, then yeah, it can be really good. So yeah,
It's a really good note for you to like give to everyone. Is like, don't be scared to just put yourself out there and actually make your first film, because there could be so many barriers to being able to do something like
it's
this.
certainly not love it. I wouldn't say
No,
and maybe you will, and that's great. But there's probably a golden period where after a certain amount of editing and watching film, you're like, oh, this is amazing, it's so good. And then you'll watch it 3 more times. And you'll be like, oh, you'll get to the point where.
But
you
this
never
is
watch
the
it
thing.
again.
Like most filmmakers are
Get out
actually
and do it.
most filmmakers are actually not that happy with their work.
No, and that's the good thing.
At whatever level you're talking about, even if you're at a high budget level.
Yeah.
And that's part of the struggle of being an artist, but it's also like the thing of getting over don't wait for that perfect moment when you've got enough budget, when you've got this, when you've got that, because you'll never actually make something, and you'll learn from the process of just doing and making mistakes. And that's certainly what we hope and sure, speaking for film studies and the MA, I'm sure, is that we just want to create an environment for you where you feel it's a safe space to experiment and to find your voice and to take those risks and to kind of do something even if it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. And a lot of that might not even be on you. It's about filmmaking has so many elements that could go wrong that are not even in your control. But it's about just keep putting yourself out there and taking that plunge and just starting to do it basically. And I think you're a really good advocate for that. So thank you for showing us your film today.
I think that's a lovely note for us to end this discussion on. I think. Could we give a round of applause to our? Thank you very much for coming along.